שלום לכל מי שהצטרף אלינו היום. Thank you for joining us. We would first like to thank all our speakers today for their participation. Collaboration with offices overseas is very, very important to us, and we are pleased that they also find value in maintaining an open line of communication with us. But now I would like to say a few words in Hebrew. ערב טוב לכולכם, תודה רבה שהצטרפתם אלינו היום לוובינר בנושא קשרים בינלאומיים. הוובינר הזה מוקלט ויועלה בהמשך לערוץ היוטיוב של מחוז תל אביב. שם אתם יכולים למצוא גם את כל הוובינרים הקודמים שלנו בסדרה. אנחנו בכלל באופן כללי מפנים אתכם להמשיך ולהתרשם ממגוון של ימי העיון והוובינרים שלנו באתר של מחוז תל אביב. הפעילויות לחודש פברואר כבר עלו במלואן לאתר וההרשמה פתוחה. אז אל תשכחו להתרשם ולהתעדכן וכמובן להירשם. כמובן כשאתם נרשמים כבר ונכנסים לאתר שלנו, תבקרו במדור התרבות, יש לנו שם כמה וכמה הנחות והטבות לחברות וחברי המחוז במגוון של מוסדות תרבות בתל אביב, ואנחנו נשמח ממש שאתם תיכנסו ותהנו מכל ההטבות האלה. עכשיו, לפני שנעבור לוובינר, אני אשמח להציג את עורך דין ארי סירקין, שהוא יושב ראש ועדת קשרים בינלאומיים במחוז תל אביב. הוא ירצה להגיד מספר מילות ברכה. ארי, are you with us? ארי?
I am.
Yeah, hi Ari.
Hi.
We cannot see you. You need to open the camera.
I opened. For some reason it's closed. Maybe you can open it. I opened it in my end.
Yeah, but we still cannot see you.
I opened it. Maybe it's in your end somewhere. Let's see. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. You're the host?
רבית, את יכולה לנסות לפתוח לו את המצלמה?
Oh, now you can see.
Yes. Hi, Ari.
Now you
Thank
can
you.
see. Yeah, okay. Okay. Good evening, distinguished colleagues and esteemed guests. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important webinar on international relations, challenges, and opportunities in collaboration with foreign attorneys. This gathering brings us together legal professionals from across the globe to discuss one of the most dynamic and crucial aspects of our profession, building and fostering international partnerships in the legal field. The legal profession, by its very nature, is increasingly globalized. Cross-border transaction, international dispute resolutions, and multinational regulations have become a part of our daily practice. This creates immense opportunities for the collaboration, knowledge exchange, and professional growth. However, it also possesses unique challenges, navigating cultural differences, understanding foreign legal systems, and fostering trust across jurisdictions. The International Relations Committee is committed to strengthening ties between legal communities worldwide, enhancing the professional development of our members, and promoting ethical and effective cooperation in the global legal arena. This webinar is a reflection of those efforts, a platform for open dialogue, sharing insights, and exploring innovative ways to overcome barriers and seize new opportunities. Today, we are privileged to hear from some of the most accomplished experts and practitioners in the field. They will shed light on practical strategies for successful international collaborations and share their experience in navigating this complex and fascinating landscape. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to an insightful and inspiring discussion.
Thank you, Ari. ועכשיו אנחנו מעבירים את השרביט לעורכת הדין אפרת שוסטר. היא תנחה את הפאנל המרתש לפנינו. אפרת, you can start. Thank you.
We can't hear you.
Wait, we cannot hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, sorry. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ali, for your kind words. Thank you, Shirley. Without you, this would not have happened. Thank you for making this happen and helping us with all this. Thank you again for the panelists that came on this thing. It's the first webinar that we're doing for the International Relations Committee, and it's hopefully it's the first of many, and we're gonna do many in the future as well. Hopefully you can join us as well. I'm very happy to have the panelists with us today. I'm Efrat Schuster. I'm a lawyer for 20 years now. I do mostly cross-border M&A, international commercial transactions, high-tech, and AI. I've been working a lot with foreign lawyers. Some of them are here in the panel today. And I'm very happy to host this panel. It's an honor for me, and it's great to hear from these guys and all their experience working with Israeli lawyers as well as clients. So I think we'll dive right into it. Let's start with introductions. We'll go one by one, and please tell us your name, which country you come from. We actually have 6 lawyers from 6 different countries. And of course, what field of legal work you work in, and a little bit about your experience with Israelis. So we'll start. The first one will be the one that has the same surname as me, but I have to say that we did a lot of checkups and there's no family connections as far as we know. Maybe it goes back, you know, a long time, but I don't know. But there's no full disclaimer. We don't have
how thorough were your checks, Efrat?
Maybe not that well, but thank you, Vlad, for joining us, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Efrat, and I appreciate you inviting me. Hello, everyone. My name is Vlad Schuster. I'm a lawyer. I'm an M&A lawyer based in Kazakhstan. I was born in the former Soviet Union in Ukraine, Lvov, Ukraine. I grew up in New York City. Am New York qualified, started my practice in New York, and I caught the expat bug in 2007, moved to first Moscow and then Almaty, Kazakhstan, where I've gotten stuck. So I've been there in various capacities with a number of international law firms since 2008. And in 2015, I established Egan Gregory. I'm one of the founding partners. We have a fairly diverse practice: M&A, capital markets, banking, finance. Between myself and my colleagues, I think we cover just about every practice area and industry in Kazakhstan. My predominant area is, like I said, M&A, maybe investments, and maybe I dabble in just about everything.
A little bit about your experience with Israelis?
Okay. I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with Israeli clients. I've had some in the telecom space. Just for some reason, it seems like at some point, everyone who was in the space, either supplying either equipment or software, were from Israel. And I don't know how that happened. I've worked with a number of clients, some Israeli lawyers. Generally positive experience, and others I've spoken to, and I made sure to call my colleagues in the marketplace to get their views before this call. Generally a positive experience. I think the common message is, I guess to put it nicely, results oriented, somewhat aggressive, and maybe pushing the envelope a bit for Kazakhstan. When you're dealing with Asian markets or Central Asian markets, people are not as direct or assertive. Sometimes it's not necessarily what you say directly, it's the message that you're sending by what you say in Asia. And so there's a little bit of maybe there's a little bit of a loss in translation, but in general, it's a positive experience. I'd say primarily maybe a little bit more patience when you're dealing with Asian markets, Central Asian markets. Nothing gets done quickly. There's a ton of procedure. You can try to be assertive, but there's still these are civil law countries, and there's a certain process to follow, and it's a little bit different in approach. But generally very positive.
Thank you, Vlad. We're going to talk a little bit more about culture and stuff like that with respect to Israelis. Hopefully we can hear more about your experience. Let's go for one of the two Israelis in the panel who's also working as a foreign lawyer, Datan. Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us a bit your experience with Israelis, you know, probably, but mostly from your experience working in the US with Israelis.
Sure thing. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Dotan Barnea. I am a partner and chair the Israel practice at Lowenstein Sandler. We're a national full-service U.S. law firm. We do a lot, but mostly corporate law, M&A, venture capital, cross-border transaction, things of that nature. Started my career in Israel. I'm actually a member of the Israeli bar, although my license is, you know, on hold. I now practice in New York and Texas for the last 11 years. So a lot of what I personally do is work with startups, investors, and corporate clients, and, you know, help guide them on U.S. legal stuff. In addition, I also, as the chair of the Israel practice, I facilitate kind of our efforts and, you know, our advice on a number of other things. You know, IP, capital markets, litigation, tax, things of that nature, and, you know, for Israeli clients. So, you know, from my experience, I deal with Israeli lawyers and law firms and clients like every day for most of the day, and I like it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. I like to stay in touch with the ecosystem, to speak Hebrew, to try to bridge the kind of cultural gaps and kind of make things happen for Israeli clients in the US.
Thank you, Datan. Going back to Europe, Audrey.
Hi, everyone. Very pleased to participate to this webinar, and thank you, Efrat, for inviting me. So I'm Audrey Ben-Gira. I'm French and Canadian. I have founded my own law firm 3 years ago, where it's a very special law firm, and I will explain maybe into more details. In terms of structure, because we are a network of independent lawyers, around 20 lawyers, and we cover every single area of business law, and we could do also tax law and tax structuring. For my part, I do corporate and M&A, so like a lot of my colleagues here. It makes sense also because I have a very international background and experience on a lot of cross-border deals and transactions, and part of and also I also do corporate structuring work and restructuring work for major groups, which is different from M&A. But focusing on cross-border transactions, I've been working a couple of times with Israelis as clients and as lawyers, inbound and outbound. So I have the two visions of Israelis coming in for service and me having to go to Israel to request some advice on how to start a business in Israel, for example. I've always had a wonderful experience, and maybe we'll get into details later. And maybe a particularity about me. So I'm not Israeli. I wasn't trained in Israel, but I recently passed the foreign lawyers exam with the Israeli bar. I'm not fully registered yet, and my hope is that we can make more connections and more deal flows between France and Israel, hopefully.
Thank you, Audrey. Francisco? We can't hear you, Francisco.
What about now? Better?
Yes,
No.
yes, that's
Okay.
better.
So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here in this webinar. So my name is Francisco Patricio. I'm from Portugal. I'm a partner of Abreu Advogados, which is one of the biggest Portuguese law firms. I run the corporate insolvency and restructuring team, and I do some real estate either. At Abreu, we are 270 lawyers, and we are full service. So we do the assistance for whatever matters the clients would need. We are although a Portuguese independent law firm, we do most of our job with international clients. So we are very used to work with not only Israeli ones, but international investment is something we do every day, most part of our day. So working hard with different timescales and, as we know, different things and different legislations and different ways of doing business. This is something we are very used to and something that I particularly like. I know the Israeli market since I think 15 years now. First time we started to work with Israeli clients, and I don't know why, but maybe I know, but clients really enjoy Portugal. Israeli clients really enjoy Portugal. Some of them, maybe in the north of Portugal, it's the more enthusiastic place that I find clients investing. So we are gladly assisting several groups of clients coming to Portugal right now, doing real estate investments, but also companies and business investments in Portugal. So we like it, and I run some of these files. So that's a pleasure meeting you and being here.
Thank you, Francisco. Martin?
Hello, everybody. Shalom. My name is Martin Dell, born and raised in East Germany, relocated to Sweden about 25 years ago, where I worked for the biggest Swedish law firm, Manner Swartling. And a few years ago, I started my own firm with a colleague. Today, we are about 35 colleagues, which makes us a medium-sized firm for Swedish circumstances, and we are full service. I myself, I'm working with M&A venture, startups, industrial supply chains, and then I have this little specialty that I like to work with railways and rolling stock and all this kind of stuff. Just last week, I met with the Israeli railways and different other authorities in Israel. Pretty interesting. So I'm also working with establishing an Israel desk for our firm. And I'm pretty committed to that. I think we should build more bridges between the countries, and experience so far from working with Israeli lawyers and clients, that's some real estate and recently some M&A and licensing business. And if it comes to the culture, I guess we will talk more about that, but I would like to mirror what Vlad said. That's also my experience. So I'm sure we will have more things to talk about, but it's definitely the straight shooter style or the straightforward style of the Israelis that I personally appreciate, but I think that's something you have to get used to.
Thank you very much, Martin. And last but not least, Oded.
Hi, everyone. Toda Efrat. So I think I'm the last one in Europe here. Basically, our firm is originally an Israeli firm. My main practice is in international commercial law, taxation, and banking and finance. About 17 years ago, we decided that it'll be smart to open another branch in Switzerland. I've been in Switzerland ever since, mainly dealing with back and forth between Switzerland and Israel, Israeli clients investing in Europe and in Switzerland, and Swiss clients which are investing in Israel. Basically, that's it. Plain vanilla law firm.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all. It's great to hear from so many lawyers from 6 different countries. I guess, I mean, we are all lawyers, but I guess we do have different legal systems. I think I want to hear first from the 2 Israeli lawyers who actually work in foreign countries as well, just to know if there's, you know, anything unique in the legal Israeli system that you think that it's different. Maybe the Israeli culture of legal issues, or even you know, lawyering, as we say, and there's I guess a huge difference as well, because where you come from, one of you come from the US, which is a common law system, and the other one from Switzerland, which is much more continental. So I'd be happy to hear. Dotan, maybe, yeah, you can start.
Sure. Look, I think the U.S. system is quite compatible to, at least in the tech M&A space. I think it's it's more alike than not, and I think the practice is pretty similar. And my transition from Israel to the U.S. was quite smooth, but I think there are obviously differences. I think the kind of, I'm overgeneralizing, but there's a tendency in Israel to overlook formalities, and I don't know, this hilchat apropim type of mentality that if we got the intent right, and if everyone understands what we're trying to do, then we can skip over kind of precise language or formalistic kind of measures. I think that's something to get over, when you want to do things right in the U.S. And a lot of times that's what we're helping the Israeli clients do. It's everyone understands that we're trying to do A, B, or C, but unless we follow the procedures and use the right language, it's not going to be. We're not going to get the result, or we're going to incur unnecessary risk. So I think that's, that kind of respect for, formality and accuracy is something to pay attention to.
That's yeah, that sounds familiar. I have to say, when I represent clients from the US, they keep asking me, the other party says, everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna work. Don't worry. Is that something that you have, you've encountered and have to explain your US clients and colleagues when you hear that?
Yeah. A lot of time we represent investors, and it's like, I think it's not. It used to be worse. I think, like, for in corporate law, I think a lot of the times, like the standard in Israel was that companies were always late on their notifications to the registrar, and it wasn't a big deal because everyone understood that that's just how things go. And when an investor from the US is looking at a company that is kind of late on their notification, and it's just the way it goes, and no one really cares. But yeah, I think that these are conversations we have, and I think at least between Israel and the US, there's enough mileage, and I think people are have been doing it for quite a while. So I think we're getting close, and people understand on both sides. Kind of the Israelis have a better understanding of the US system, and vice versa.
Oded, what about you? Swiss are known to be very accurate.
I'll tell you what, I think that you're more than accurate, but at the end of the day, the US has, same as in England, the common law system. So it is something that Israelis, even if they're not 100% understand, they somehow could relate to. And one of the main issues we always have, specifically in Switzerland, is the fact that the differential between common law and civil law, I would say that from the Israeli side, we're more goal-oriented, whereas the Swiss lawyers are more procedure-oriented. And it never helps them, when you need to explain an Israeli client that you are absolutely correct. Whatever you say is 100% true. But the judge just doesn't care because on the book, it doesn't say that you're right. And trying to explain that to a client that it won't help if we will do A, B, C because the result is already known in advance, is not easy, to say the least. But it's something that needs to be taken into consideration when you do business in a jurisdiction where everything is premeditated basically before you even started. I'm always giving the example when I'm having issues that we had an Israeli law firm that represented a Swiss company in an investment in a certain investment in Israel. So basically, they received investors that wanted to invest in the Swiss company, but the contract they provided the investors was something that just used as a template from a US company. And when the day came that we actually had to issue the shares, my eyes basically turned black because it had nothing to do with the local law that didn't allow to do whatever they thought they could do. And trying to explain it to the Israeli attorney wasn't exactly very simple because, well, what do you mean? I mean, it works in the US, it should work everywhere. Where basically, yeah, it's a different continent. But generally, I find that, like everybody else said, I mean, we as Israeli attorneys, we're very direct. We know exactly what we want. We thrive on getting the deals done. And we're more specific going towards the goal. But sometimes we do forget the procedure, which needs to be respected as well.
Thank you, Oded. Does anyone does any other panelist have an opinion about that that you want to share with us? I mean, it's okay if not. I mean, we can go to the juicy parts. That's fine. Okay, so let's move on to the juicy parts. Let's talk about the cultural differences. I'm sure you know you've all worked with Israelis, and I know that you've noticed that there may be some cultural differences. And I heard you before. You're very polite, you know, with what other than Oded and Dotan, which are, yeah, I think you're more you know, because you're Israelis, and you feel that's okay. But of course, I mean, you can say right now, whatever you experience with respect to cultural differences with working with Israeli clients or lawyers, and you know, just tell us an example and you know what happened during that whatever difference that you had and what you've noticed and maybe what they could do differently. So let's start with Vlad. You've had a few words before that about talking about Israelis being sometimes a bit aggressive, maybe more, you know, telling what they think and saying everything that they want at the moment and not completely overthinking it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, generally, I understand the mindset. You know, it's pragmatic. You want to get to the point. You want to get things done quickly. So it's pretty clear. I'd say that the number one point is just maybe be mindful of cultural differences, right? Especially in communication and approach, maybe in negotiations. You know, maybe avoiding sort of winner takes all approach where you're just you know you need to win. You will do whatever it takes to get the deal done, right? Ultimately, there's a give and take. And in some cultures, there's a certain dance, a certain expectation that you're going to say certain things, and those things, you know, are meant to convey a message. It's not the words themselves, but the message that the words are meant to convey. And it's very cultural. So I think being mindful of cultural differences is very important. And I guess this is probably the main message of hosting a you know, a webinar like this, right? Is understanding each other and being mindful of these things. Generally, I think wherever we sit, and we have representatives from various countries here, we more or less have the same practices. We're dealing with more or less the same issues, and we're just trying to bridge this gap. You know, the impression that Israelis can be, I don't know, aggressive or difficult. I don't think that that's necessarily, you know, maybe it's cultural. I don't know. But I think it's a misconception. I don't think that's really what it comes down to. I just think that the approach is you want to get things done. You want to get, you know, you want to quote unquote win, right? The negotiation, get to the end of it, close the deal, and that will ultimately happen. It just requires a certain patience and cultural sensitivity. So, you know, that's what I've seen. And ultimately, we got the deal done, right? And in the one deal that I was able to close with an Israeli client which was a telecom related deal. You know, it just took a little bit longer than everyone expected, and there was no need for 3 a.m. WhatsApp messages asking what the status of a certain, you know, agreement was.
Okay, thank you, Vlad. Martin, maybe you can share.
Yeah, so
And I also have to say that, Martin, you've been here a few times lately, and you've been, visiting and staying for a few weeks, so you may have, gotten to know the Israelis better.
Yeah, I managed to find some friends and good people to know like you, Efat. So I personally appreciate the the Israeli way of talking, doing business, and negotiating and so on, that I've experienced personally also in my work and so on. And as a Sagittarian, I'm super adaptable, so I don't care. But okay, let's say you want to know how to do smooth business with Sweden. Then there are trust. Trust is absolutely essential, and trust is built on two things here. That's transparency and reliability. So it's pretty easy to keep a deal flowing, to get the trust of your client, or even the trust of the counterparty or the counterparty's counsel, and that is just give them the feeling that you stick to what you have promised. Like it's about small things like being on time, not reverting with new things when people might have got the impression that an issue is closed, and something that I have experienced. I mean, personally, again, I don't have a problem with it, but I think Israeli lawyers, they seem to they do a lot of stuff on their own without keeping you in the loop. That's my personal experience. Maybe I'm wrong. And for me, that works well, but don't underestimate the need of the people here in the Nordics to have this feeling that they're involved and that they're in control. They really like this thing, to be in control of the situation that's even represented in the language, where they often express themselves as if they have chosen something which actually only happened to them. And they like to get this feeling with anybody they work together with. And if you give them that feeling, things will go really smoothly, because here in Sweden, it's actually pretty easy to do business because you get a lot of trust beforehand. And then you have to prove that you have earned it. And as long as you do that, via those small cultural things like, keeping deadlines and so on, that is of the greatest value, actually. So that would be my input.
I think that's some good advice as well, keeping posted and trying to keep everyone in the loop as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure, I think it's worldwide probably, for all lawyers to notice that. I'm sure there are a lot of lawyers who do that, and a lot of lawyers who probably not noticing, not doing that. But it's really important, I think, to know, especially with respect to working, with Swedish lawyers and probably with other lawyers as well around the world. Thank you, Martin. Francisco, maybe you as well have something to say about working with us?
Yeah. So when I first started to work with Israeli clients, I think I got the impression that I still have now. So 15 years after, I think in the beginning we can find some. Well, first, as a general rule, Israeli clients are very well prepared for business, so they know exactly what they want. They already made their homework often, so they don't show you at home, meaning at the office, with general questions, knowing nothing about the case or knowing nothing about the deal. So they are very well prepared. So a first meeting is immediately a meeting where you talk about business and go straight forward to details, and there are already questions, particular questions, very, very accurate and very well directed. And I found them always pragmatic and stick to the conclusions, and very and very well prepared for that. So I think this was my first impression, and this is the same that I get nowadays. Apart from it, maybe the way you work, of course, as Odin was saying earlier, putting on the loop every time the clients, make them knowing exactly what's happening, copying them as long as the bar association allows it, because sometimes there are some issues, at least in Portugal, that you cannot contact directly with the other side without having a lawyer involved, etc. But showing the clients and showing your part that you are 100% in contact with them makes things easier and makes things go to a level of trust that after that I think things are easier. So when you are well prepared and you know what you are looking for, if you have someone that understands your skills and what you are looking for, after this first barrier, things comes very nice and very smooth, and trust is there. So it's a way of only from that moment onward things just can go better. So this is my impression, particular impression on that.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Yeah, Oded?
Yeah, if I could, I just want to add something regarding what I said before, which, let's face it, it's what everybody has said so far, regarding us Israelis being a little bit too aggressive and a little bit too assertive. I want to connect it to the Swiss. So if you would see basically a Swiss meeting for the first time between an Israeli attorney and a Swiss attorney, yes, it will come out as a little bit aggressive from the Israeli side. However, I found that the Swiss, as much as they like to have everything in order, organized, they do like the fact that Israelis are coming with a certain problem, but also normally with a solution. Whereas normally the Swiss would have the problem and it will take a long time for them to actually find the solution itself. And you will find actually that after one or two meetings, once the Swiss understood that the Israelis didn't come with the problem, they came also with a solution to the problem, the trust which is built upon that specific issue actually helps to move forward. So again, it's the type of two different types of systems that you have an issue. Both countries have it, but one system specifically is more aiming towards the solution, and the other one is more, this is just how it is. My only concern normally is when I explain to other attorneys when they're coming to the tables, if there is an issue, and normally there is, otherwise we attorneys wouldn't be in the room, just make sure specifically when you talk about the solution to make it understand that, yes, we acknowledge the fact that there is a problem and we're here to solve it.
Great, thank you. Audrey?
Hello. Yeah. So working with Israeli lawyers. So I was very lucky that each time I worked with Israeli lawyers, they had an international background. So they were former English people or American people who moved to Israel and they worked on international transactions. So for my part, I didn't feel a big cultural difference because cross-border transactions are pretty much standard and processed. So when we spoke the same language and we go very fast. So on that side, I wasn't surprised. But talking about Israeli clients, it's true, who were only Israeli this time, not half Israeli and half something else. I did notice the same things that we just said. I wouldn't say they're aggressive. That's not the word I would use. I would say they're very demanding, very pushy, more than aggressive. They want their goal and they're going to work for it. They can be very pushy on the lawyers also, because I had the clients directly, and on my fee negotiation, they were extremely pushy without an issue. And even throughout the project, they tried to get back on the fee negotiation, which is, for a French lawyer, very disturbing, I have to say. Because once you said yes, you say yes. So this is maybe something that shouldn't be done. I don't know if it's regular in Israel or if it was only an experience of mine. But besides that, yes, also the fact they are result-oriented, solution-driven. I agree totally with Odette. And they want things very, very fast. And sometimes you have to remind them, we're here to make it happen quickly. but don't forget there are steps. And if you mess up with the steps, you will just mess up with everything. So please be mindful that we know you want to go fast, but there are things that need to be done the right way.
I think that's maybe our job, the Israeli lawyers. As you said, maybe I think that we know that as well, that, some of our clients, if not most, and some of our clients are pushy and do act that way. And, we, of course, are Israelis, but again, we have to endure that as well. But that's, our position here as lawyers in Israel, being, the middle person, the middleman here between the Israeli client and the lawyer or the other client, on the other side, or the lawyer in one of, your countries, exactly to do that, to be the middle person and to explain, to connect, and to, both to the lawyer and of course to the client as well on how things work. And I think this is, again, why it's so important to do these talks, in order for us to understand as well how to communicate that to our clients, as well as to, later on try to explain to you why, they are acting like that, and why, most of the time it's not malicious or anything like that, but it's, of course, it's just, sometimes it's a cultural thing, it's nothing wrong about that, but just, we have to endure and understand that and work with that. So I think that's one of the reasons why we are here. We have a question in the chat, so let me ask you. And Audrey, you're already here answering, so I'll start with you. Hi, I would like to know, when you work with Israeli lawyers, do they have a background in international law?
Well, international law, I don't know, because I don't do private international law, family law, things like that. But they did have the Israeli lawyers I worked with were M&A lawyers and corporate lawyers. So they were supposed to help me do business in Israel, help my clients do business in Israel, but they definitely had a international background. And so, well, first of all, they spoke English very well. They drafted everything in English, and they did understand my questions, where I came from, and maybe my subject matter is rather standard. Maybe in Israel, a lot of things works the same way. When you need to register a company, you think about a certain amount of things and you want to check the boxes, and maybe it's the same boxes. But yeah, definitely an international background.
Okay. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, generally, it helps to have an international background when you work outside of Israel specifically, or when you work outside of Switzerland. Obviously, there are certain steps that one need to take. I'll give the best example. For instance, when issuing certain rulings, court rulings for outside of the country, it did happen from time to time that lawyers basically just sent a ruling which was given in an Israeli court outside of Israel, not understanding there's a specific formality that you have to follow. Not every country sees that as a criminal offense, but some countries, especially in Europe, that could qualify as a criminal offense. So do you need to have it? It's not a must, but it does indeed help to have some sort of guidance when you start your first steps outside of the country. And more specifically, if you want to take actual part in a specific country. So if you do want to work in a specific country, I think it does help to have some sort of background that assists you in that country. But just for international law in general, I wouldn't say specifically that there is a must, but it obviously helps.
Thank you, Oded. So I think one of the things that the participants here have joined us and want to know is, one of the first things is, when you decide that you need an Israeli lawyer to work with, with your client or in any transaction, how do you choose that lawyer? How do you come about to say, this is the lawyer that works for me? How does it work with your clients as well? This is something that I think a lot of lawyers, especially here probably in the webinar, and a lot of lawyers in Israel do want to accomplish an international practice and work abroad as well. So that would be great to hear. Martin, maybe you can start.
Yeah, I would say recommendation.
Okay.
Of course, that builds the trust, some kind of connection there. And then we are also part of an international network that includes Israeli firms that we anyway also know through other ways. So, but otherwise, absent such a network, I would say it's definitely a recommendation. I would not look in a directory, for lawyers. That's
Okay.
I don't know
Not
how
any
that
legal.
works. How you get in there. So
Okay.
yeah.
So recommendation from other lawyers that you work with, or
yeah, maybe somebody at my firm or another firm that I know, or maybe a common client would be the usual way to go. So
Okay.
yeah, and that worked out well for me. So yeah.
Francisco?
Yeah, actually, I think I've never, well, maybe yes, but what has been the majority of the cases that I've handled were cases where Israeli would invest and come to Portugal, and less cases where I needed Israeli services in Israel. So it would mean that we have been consulted more than what we have requested from Israel, although these would come always by referral from other cases and from other law firms with which we work. We belong to many of the international associations that you also belong to. So we have our own contacts, and when we go, we know each other when we go, and this is the recommendations that usually arise.
Can you please, Francisco, give examples for the associations for those of the
Yeah.
lawyers that
So
are not familiar with?
IBA,
okay.
Ever, ABA, so American Bar Association
ABA.
also, Insol Europe, where I'm also a member of. AIJA, also it's something that we also participate very often. UIA, União Internacional dos Avocats, also very, very active. Basically, these are the ones that and then we have some alliances, non-exclusive alliances with law firms from foreign countries that allow us also to have good connections with the countries we work more. So
great. Vlad, are you with us?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. How do you choose when you need to work with Israeli lawyers?
I generally by recommendations. I know I have a couple of great contacts that I've worked with over the years. They refer clients to me, and if I need a contact, I reach out. It's always by referral recommendations. The old-fashioned way of doing things. If I could, I noticed in the comments that there was a bit of a discussion on whether we were being judgmental or not, and I just wanted to just make a quick. Well, I think it makes sense because I think we've noted some of the things that as international practitioners we see. And I think ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to just generally highlight that we're all coming with different cultural background, right? And I think that if sitting in Kazakhstan as an American lawyer, I can say plenty about my Kazakh colleagues, and if I was working with American lawyers or British lawyers, we all have a different approach, a different cultural baggage. And I probably, if you said to me, what's it like? I'm actually sitting in Paris right now, and I split my time between Kazakhstan and France. If I had to compare even my French colleagues and my hi Audrey and the Kazakh colleagues, we definitely have a different approach. We have a different approach to lawyering. There are cultural aspects that come into play. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to bridge those cultural differences so we can help our clients make a deal, right? And that's ultimately the point. And so none of this is meant to be in any way judgmental. I think ultimately what we're saying is, look, we're sitting here in this part of the world. We deal with clients and lawyers from your jurisdiction. and we want to help you make deals. And some of these things tend to pop up when we're doing these deals, and we want to bridge that gap. So I think ultimately that's the benefit of a discussion like this.
Exactly.
If I could actually, Vlad, I think what you said was super 100% true. When I talk to friends of ours in Israel before we starting a deal outside of Israel, it is never coming from a judgmental point of view. It's coming from the other party is coming with A, we're coming with C. We need to make sure that we're coming to the table with a B. And it's not coming from, God forbid, putting us down as much as it is the other side doesn't know Israelis the same way we Israelis don't know the Swiss. So it's in order to make sure that the transaction itself will come out as pleasant as possible with the intention of, getting to the goal as we all want to, without getting, like too much, I don't know, struggles in between.
Yep.
On that same matter, maybe I will add something a bit different, a nuance. Of course, recommendations is the best thing, but that means that you're part of a network, or you've already worked with Israeli lawyers and you know who to address and who to refer to. Sometimes you're not in that situation because it's not the same field of expertise, so you don't know if people you can really rely on. Other thing I want to say is it's not because you have a very renowned firm that everybody in that firm is the same standard of service and quality. Sorry for that, but I have to say it. And people who've been in those firms, they know what I'm talking about. The third point is that sometimes for your client, you cannot refer the firm that you want to refer. You can have a conflict of interest. You can have a fee major difference between what your client can afford and the fee they want to practice. Mm-hmm. You can have a variety of situations. You can also have a situation where you know that you will refer a file to that firm, but they will never refer it to you because in your jurisdiction, they have another best friend. So you feel that you should maybe consider other options and creating new relationships, etc. Why I'm saying all this is to put a positive note to the person who actually asked the question. It's not because you're not referred, it's not because you're not in a major law firm that we cannot connect and get to know each other. And I think that before referral, because referral is a chicken and egg situation, if you don't know people, if you're not known, who's going to know you, etc., you need to get to meet people. So what Francisco said, get to international conferences. In Paris, there's going to be the IBA meeting in 2 weeks. If somebody planned to come, I'll be there. I don't know if Vlad will be there, if Francisco will be there, but there's going to be a lot of people from the M&A world. There's a few of those each year and throughout other locations, depending on what's your area of interest. There's other associations, and then you just take your call, your phone, and you try to reach out to jurisdictions and other law firms in other jurisdictions. And when you have time, you do your roadshow. And you do it the old style, because the best referral you have is the connection you make with people. And people will want to know how you work. What's your resume? Where you come from? What type of deals you've done? What are your credentials? Etc., etc. So the referral is the short version of what I just told you right now. It's all the work that you have to do will give you the referral.
That's amazing and amazing advice, Audrey. And I think that actually brings us to the next questions. You all have international work, doing what you do internationally. And one of the things that I think that our participants want to hear is exactly what Audrey says. Maybe others have also some tips about, how to grow international work as well, and how to get outside of Israel and try to work on with foreign clients, with clients from your country, with lawyers from your country, with you. So that will be great if you can give us some advice regarding that. Maybe Martin, you can start.
Yeah, okay, so let's say you are an Israeli lawyer wanting to expand your practice to the Nordics. There are not so many. I mean, we all know that the trade volume between the countries is not very big. There's no traditional strong economic ties and so on. So I guess it doesn't come flying to you. I think what you could do is there are some organizations in Israel with which have a Swedish origin, like for example, there's an innovation authority active. Efrat, you know them.
Yeah, the connector.
There has been, and I think there will be again, a pretty strong cooperation on the startup and venture side. For example, Startup Nation Central, they have their cooperation. So there's the embassy, which organizes things. There's the Chamber of Commerce. So I would probably go for this to try to get some contacts there and see what is going on, and or maybe, I mean, what we do ourselves is just establishing who do we know has business across the country or between the countries, and then just approach them and see if there's some common ground where we could help them, and that can work. But it's not easy because the volume is not really big, and now with current situation, but I'm pretty sure that it will be better. So, but I think go for the things you can find in Israel, where you have some Nordic association being active there.
Thank you, Martin. Dotan, anything to add?
Sure. I think at least with the US, we don't have that issue. There's like a big, I think, ground to collaborate. There's a lot of business between Israel and the US, and I think there are a lot of opportunities. I think it starts with, like Martin and Audrey said, I think it starts with, finding the kind of the relevant entry points, the connections, to people. People who are in Israel and are already doing business with the States, or people in the States that are already in the network, or you can expand the network to include them. I'm asked a lot. We are a 350, 400 lawyer law firm, but I also get questions from our clients and other law firms for intros for Israeli lawyers from time to time. The good part about it is that rate is usually not an issue because of the kind of rate differential, which is nice. And yeah, I think it's there are organizations, there are kind of personal relationships, there are events, things of that nature. I think building on past experience is also pretty good. So I would do that.
Thank you, Rutan. Oded?
From my experience, normally lawyers tend to look to the countries where they somehow had some sort of a case that had to do with it. But for those which are unsure which country they want to go, specifically in Israel, but not just, there is also the Handel. Wait, I'm trying to think about the Hebrew word for it. Lishkat HaMischar, so the Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a very good first step to basically get to know other lawyers in your region, which basically work in that area that you want to work in. I found that from our side specifically in Switzerland, we had a lot of cases where including Sweden, by the way, Martin, where we were stuck once, and the Chamber of Commerce really helped out. They connected us to a very good attorney that assisted us. But other than that, the IBA, of course, there's IFA for financial associations as well. Whoever deals with inheritance or with trust can go and join STEPS Association. There are numerous associations out there which really does help connecting people from all sorts of areas. But at the end of the day, these connections are great, but unless you actually practice up to an extent in a specific jurisdiction, those are just nice connections. It's good to have, it's important, And just like everything else, especially for us self-employed, it's footwork. It's just showing up on every event, talking to people, changing business cards, a lot of mileage. But you know, it's these things at the end of the day that bring you the context that will keep you in mind in the head of other people's when they will need someone in that jurisdiction, whether it's in Israel, Switzerland, or US or anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, you know, going out there, the thing is, it's, you know, sometimes going out there when it's abroad, it's much more expensive than, you know, going out there here in Israel. Although it is easier right now, you know, we do have Zoom, but I think the connections are not as good when we have Zooms and, you know, talks in some kind of video conference. It's always better, I think, better to meet in person. And I have to say, you know, when in the last few years, when I go abroad on vacation, I make it as a point, you know, to actually have some meetings there with local lawyers. So that's actually how I met Francisco, you know, but actually I didn't went to Portugal for vacation, although it was vacation as well. I went there to get my Portuguese passport. So, and then I had the chance to meet Francisco and talk with him, which was great. Very good to know him. So, yeah, so I think that's a good point as well. Anyone else want to add on this?
Yeah, maybe I will add an idea. First of all, well, of course, target the country you have most interest in, and basically try to target a country where you know your clients will have interest in, because the only way you will make business in that country is if you do some of the work for a client. You try to create a deal flow. So maybe you have a client who's an investor, and he's interested in investing money outside of Israel on some types of projects. And so try to understand what type of incentives, subsidies that he could get as a foreign investor, because there are. If you're interested for France, I could give you a few hints after the webinar, for example, but that can help. The other way around, if you have connections in that country, try to maintain them. I like to say that the first people who were my clients when I started the firm were people I knew since 10 or 15 years, and I kept the connection going on, even though it didn't bring anything for that many years. But when you just say that you can assist them in another setting, they're very happy. It happens at the right moments, and they're very happy to work with you again. So yeah, work on the deal flow on your end. Don't wait for it to come on your desk fully done. If there's a small action you can do, and keep connections.
Great. So I have one last question for you all. It's actually maybe you can give one tip, maybe more, to us Israeli lawyers to how to work better with you. I have to say that, you know, every time that I have to work with a US lawyer, I keep telling myself, you know, don't interrupt them, because, you know, Israelis tend to, you know, talk within someone else's talk, and to, you know, interrupt them during their whatever they're saying. And I know how Americans do not like that, and I keep telling myself, do not interrupt, you know, wait for them to finish. Sometimes they don't finish, but I always have to tell myself, you know, wait for them to finish. So just, you know, some kind of tip in order, you know, to make us be much more accommodable to working with you. That would be great. Maybe we can start with Francisco.
Well, I really don't know what to tell you about this topic, because I never found that, apart from the things we already spoken, like the way you know the other side when you don't know the other side for much time. But I really don't have nothing to say as regards what really scares me, because when we are talking about international deals, and we are talking with people that is used with international standards for whatever assistance they are looking for. So if it's a lawyer knows what are the international rules. If it's a client, probably as we are talking about a cross-border, he is also prepared, or his lawyer is also used to do this with him. So I would say that to me it's exactly the same. And on the top of that, all my experience with Israeli deals has been very rich. As I always found them very well prepared and very well interested on the deal itself. So they are not at all passive; they are active. They like to make part of the solution and to bring ideas to the table. And this is very interesting for lawyers, because sometimes we need to know exactly what the client is willing to do, and this is very helpful as long as you can roll and make and build something based on what the clients and the lawyer.
Thank you, Francisco. Vlad, any tips for us?
I don't know if I have anything really to add to everything that's been said already. I'd say that, generally cultural awareness, interest in other people's culture, business practices, ask the questions, get people interested, show people that you're interested in them, in their culture, build those bridges. I mean, we're all part of the same practice. We all understand what we need to do to get deals done. Ultimately, it's just a matter of bridging those cultural gaps. Other than that, I don't really have much to add.
Thank you, Vlad. Martin?
I would say don't bend too much. Stay as you are.
Yeah.
Because that's really a strength. I think that I'm always super impressed by, what all the other colleagues have said as well. This strong, focus on the deal.
I have to say that we've impressed Martin so much that I think he's thinking about moving to Israel, right, Martin?
But my lawyer tells me I have to find an Israeli woman. So, and my girlfriend disagrees.
She doesn't want you to find an Israeli woman.
And she loves
That's
Israel as well. She has been working here for a year. Anyway, so but I would like to repeat this because if you want to get the thing to go smoothly, and now I'm talking from the Swedish point of view, it is those little things that build this, this trust, which is, as I said, transparency and reliability, that you show that, via those small things. Because don't forget, for the Swedes, Israel is a black box, unless they have already done business with Israel. It's just a black box. Just I guess as Sweden is a black box for Israelis. They really have no conception of how Israelis are and how you do business with them and so on. But you can overcome that easily, not by changing the approach totally, but those little things. So I promise that will be a good way.
Thank you, Vlad. Audrey?
Yeah, maybe one thing. It didn't happen with Israel, but it happened in a deal we closed in December with the U.S. So my recommendation would be aware of professional different rules between the professions. So we're all lawyers, but we have professional rules and ethical rules that may be slightly different. Israeli ethical rules are very close to French ones because I've taken the exam, so I can say. But for example, what happened in my case with the US, I think it could have happened in Israel also. It wouldn't have shocked anybody in Israel, but in my situation in France, it was problematic. So it was a deal with the US. The US client, my client was a seller, and the US counterparty was purchasing the company. And they had taken Baker McKenzie in France to advise them. And it was so Baker McKenzie was a French lawyer, right? And what Baker McKenzie did, because she had the instructions from her client, who was general counsel of that American company, was sending me an email saying, between us, I have to tell you that any single meeting we will have, any single email I will send you, I will copy my client, and you are invited to copy yours if you want. And what I did is I called her and I said, no, this is not going to happen this way. You know, we have rules together that what happens between the two of us remains between the two of us, but your client is not a French lawyer. And if she is copied or if she participates to a meeting, it's no longer confidential. So I agree we will have meetings and emails shared, but if I want to call you, I will call you. And she agreed, and it was all fine and settled, and no issue when we explained this to the American party, and it was fine. But these tiny rules, if you do an international deal, be aware of what are the limits in terms of privilege and confidential information, what you can do or not do.
And maybe ask. I mean, if you don't know, just, I mean, talking is,
exactly.
I think that's one of the things that all of us, you know, all over the world, I think that, you know, since we have these Zoom calls and we have, you know, WhatsApp and we have messages and everything and emails, we've stopped talking. So, I mean, we're just writing stuff. And I think maybe talking could actually gap not just legal differences, but cultural differences, of course. And again, you know, I know when I write emails to certain people in certain parts of the world, it sounds different with respect to my tone in writing, because what they read is actually different from what I wrote. Even inside Israel, you know, sometimes why are you angry? And I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Again, example, when you write Americans, if you don't say please or you know, every line, then they think that you're angry at them. No, not angry. So you know, that's important to talk and understand as well. And you know, and sometimes, you know, just ask, are you angry? No, I'm not angry. So that's fine. So yeah, thank you, Audrey. Dotan.
Sure, not a lot to add. I would just like stress, though, kind of to play the long game, build relationships and trust, like other people said. You know, there's like myself, I think there are other, you know, Israeli practitioners in US law firms. So, you know, that's also a way to bridge the gap, because there are a lot of former Israeli lawyers practicing in the States. So, and they have somewhat of an understanding of both systems and cultures, etc. So I think that's another way to. I'm not going to be as easily offended if you don't write please, and I'm fine with
exactly
being contacted on WhatsApp over the weekend.
Yeah, wait a few years.
Yes. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Dotan. Oded?
Same as Dotan, I don't really have much to offer apart from one specific thing, which I think it's correct for everyone. It's not necessarily for Israelis or for foreign attorneys. When you go into a meeting between two people, just leave the ego outside. You know, just go in with the intention to find the solution to whatever problem that you have. Put the ego aside, because at the end of the day, the person in front of you is not there to hurt you. He's there to solve the problem of his own client. And you're there to solve your client's problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be one side winning, one side losing. It could be a win-win at the end of the day. And this is something that we are generally sometimes lacking, with the understanding that just because you get what you want, it doesn't mean the other side has to lose. So I think that trying to find a win-win situation, if it's possible, obviously it's not always possible, but if it is possible, I think that's the thing we need to thrive for.
Thank you very much. Well, we do have a Q&A, something in the Q&A. It's from Gideon Ginat saying, when and where are we going to meet in person? So I guess maybe it's an invitation here to Israel, or maybe he, you know, wants an invitation to any one of you and in your countries. Hopefully it will be soon. Hopefully, you know, it will be easier to go back and forth soon enough. And we can do that. Anything else that you would like to add? Give us any tips or state anything?
No, coffee and cake is always offered in our office in Zurich to whoever is coming.
Sprungli, we would like Sprungli, please.
Absolutely, always.
Okay, great. I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for coming and being in this panel. Amazing tips and great to hear from you all. I mean, I think that all of you have experience working with Israeli lawyers and of course other foreign lawyers. And I think it was a great thing to hear from you all. Thank you again. Audrey, Dotan, Francisco, Martin, Oded, and Vlad, thank you very much. Thank you to Ari for being here. Thank you, of course, for Shirley for doing this and helping us getting this together, and for Avit for being the technical support. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you for
hopefully
organizing.
I'll see you and talk
Thank you,
with you all.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Toda raba.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for participating.